And welcome Pastor as he comes to bring the word.
Can I tell you a story? And I probably ought not to tell this. I ought to save this for a sermon in itself. This is a true story. Man owned a grocery store in a very poor section of town. And there were three families that he knew of that were pretty bad off. They didn't have much. And there were three sons, all about the same age. And they would come in every once in a while and say, Mama needs some flour, some meal, beans, something. And how much does it cost? And he would always tell them, I have lost my red marble. If you'll bring me a red marble, it's yours. And he did all three of them. He died. Man died. At the funeral, there were three well-dressed, obviously successful businessmen walked down the aisle. And each one of them reached in and put something in his hand. And someone looked at his wife and said, what are they doing? They're putting something in his hand. She said, if you'll go look, you'll find three red marbles. You can touch somebody's life by a simple act. And she said he never failed to see that they found a red marble before they got out the door. That may not mean much to you, but it does to me. You've got a red marble today. Use it to help somebody. So anyway, I get up here. I want you to raise your right hand and say, I promise I will not get mad at Mack today. Now you can get mad at me tomorrow, but not today. You've already promised. I have been given the responsibility of being a watchman on the wall. I am the shepherd and the bishop of your soul. You chose me to be that. If I see danger coming and I fail to warn you about it, then God's going to hold me responsible. Now, if I warn you and you don't listen, my hands are free. It's on you. The sermon today is the land of the free. And I hope that's not what this land used to be. John 8, Jesus made a statement, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. On July the 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence, freedom from Great Britain. Great Britain, the most powerful nation on the planet at the time, declared war on this little new United States, and they thought it would just be over quickly. 7 years later, they agreed that the United States should be independent. Freedom is not free. You have to fight for it, and when you get it, you have to defend it. Now that's physical freedom, natural freedom, or spiritual freedom? Jesus said he came to set captives free. What has happened in our country? Anybody here can remember when you were younger, you had a pickup, had a gun rack in the back of it. They were loaded, didn't have any better sense. And if you had that truck when you were in school, you probably drove that truck to school with the guns in the rack. And nobody got shot. Nobody threw a hissy fit. And you probably didn't even lock the door of your truck. Does anybody here can remember that besides me? Look at this. You're a bunch of old codgers. You know that? That's the way our country used to be. Now they force kids to sit and listen to a drag queen story hour. And a football coach gets fired. And by the way, the Supreme Court defended him and said he's free. Our national debt is now $30+ trillion. I think it's basically a $30.5 trillion. Now, I don't know whether your mind can grasp how much that is. But the national debt is climbing at a rapid rate. We are swimming as a nation in a river of red ink. And the politicians seem to think that the American people are too stupid to recognize that skyrocketing debt, escalation of socialism, has already destroyed a lot of what made this country great. The problem is, as the national debt grows, the dollar loses value. And the government then has to take more money from the workers through higher taxes. And all of that simply means a rising of inflation. Prices constantly going up. We're seeing the greatest rise in inflation in a short period of time that this country has ever seen. You think it's bad now? Buckle up. What's happened in this country? We've got dysfunctional families, single-parent households, drug-infested schools, crime-infested cities, and we have, according to the government, a welfare state where 80% of the people get some kind of government assistance, whether it's insurance assistance, welfare, whatever. And now that is if you include, as a lot of politicians are now trying to include, Social Security. They say that they need to cut out Social Security because it's just a welfare program for old people. Well, I'm going to tell you what. They took money out of your paycheck every time you got a paycheck to put for your retirement. It is not a handout. It is not a welfare program. And you have to be deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid to not see that America cannot survive as we know it if this situation continues. The United States is crumbling. And all that Congress, I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans, I've just lost respect for all of them. They're slapping Band-Aids on a cancer patient that's just gone into cardiac arrest. Our nation's in trouble. I'm going to tell you a story. I hate this story. It's a terrible story. I'm going to tell it anyway. A hunter and his dog gets lost in the wilderness. And he can't seem to find anything to kill, and they're hungry. They're starving to death. They've been lost for days. So the hunter, in desperation, cuts the dog's tail off, roasts it, and eats the tail, and then throws the bone to the whimpering dog who licks his master's hand in appreciation because he threw him a bone. Now, that's a terrible story. But that is the story of what government aid is all about. A dog can live without its tail, but the hunter and the dog still starving. Remember this: the government cannot give you anything except what it has taken from somebody else. Government creates nothing, it makes nothing, it builds nothing. All that government can do is take and take and take and take. Federal aid actually means federal control. That is the ultimate goal of the government that we have right now. They want control of your life and everything you do. And remember, what government subsidizes, it controls. They can cut it off at any time. When politicians tell you how much they have done for you, all they're saying is, this is how much we were able to take from somebody else to give to you. It's how much of the dog's tail we cut off so we could throw you a bone. That's what government subsidy is. A politician that will steal for you will also steal from you. America is the greatest nation that the world has ever known. But we're fast losing the freedoms that made us great. The land of the free. By the way, Joe says I ought not to do this. I hate these singers that sing the national anthem, and all they're trying to do is show how great their voice is. They come to the land of the free. That just drives me crazy. Sing it like it's supposed to be. Don't try to show me how great I appreciated what we did up here. Don't show me how great your voice is. I don't care. You do the national anthem, do it right. That's just one of my pet peeves. Well, Mack, what's wrong with you? Our politicians and the media is all telling us how wonderful everything is. You know, just saying something doesn't make it right and doesn't make it so. Abraham Lincoln, I read this a while back. Abraham Lincoln, in a debate, asked his opponent, if you call a dog's tail a leg, how many legs does a dog have? His opponent said, well, 5, of course. Lincoln said, no, you're wrong. If you call a dog's tail a leg, that doesn't make it a leg, it's still a tail. Just saying something doesn't make it so. Well, Mack, why are you so upset? I used to be upset because I was afraid that my grandkids were going to wind up in slavery to the government. Now I'm upset because even at my age, I'm afraid that I may wind up in slavery to the government. I'm upset Because government debt is now well over $30 trillion. And watch this. Watch. Mark it down that I said it. There is about to be a war on cash. They're going to try to do away with cash so you can't have anything in reserve. Every transaction you make at the bank is already reported to the government. I'm upset because people are working to build a future for retirement or for a rainy day. And I'm upset because they may wake up very soon and realize they don't have enough laid aside to last them through a sunshiny shower. I'm upset because people think the government is somehow going to come to the rescue. He's going to save them. You're going to hate me. You promised you wouldn't. People are so gullible. Christians are so gullible. They keep electing politicians. They keep electing these people that keep getting us deeper and deeper into trouble. And Christians keep sending money to preachers preaching a phony, fake gospel. They're only interested in how much money they can get out of you. Ronald Reagan, probably my favorite president in my lifetime anyway, he said the scariest 9 words in the English language. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. I'm upset because the future generations are not here to help us spend their money. Politicians say, well, don't worry about it. Debt doesn't mean anything. We owe it to ourselves. That's like saying feed your cows more grain so the crows can get fat. Anytime you or the government or a business reaches the point where they cannot pay the interest on the debt that they owe, that's bankrupt. Do you know why the Federal Reserve is so hesitant about raising the interest rates? Because they know at some point it's going to tip the scale. And the government will not be able to pay the interest on. See, national debt belongs to people who hold national treasuries of some kind. That's you, me. If you have a 401k, you own some national treasuries. Foreign countries. If this country goes bankrupt, your world will fall apart. Everything you planned on. Well, Mack, you're painting a terrible picture. I'm just trying to warn you. And all this talk about conservatism, has anybody heard of any group saying, I don't want your subsidies anymore. I don't need it. Now, everybody wants less government spending for everybody else, but not for themselves. Take the subsidies from somebody else, just don't take mine. And now then politicians are talking a little, you hear a few of them talking about rewriting the Constitution and packing the Supreme Court. They want to put 15 members on the Supreme Court. Did you know the Supreme Court is the 4th arm of our government? They're supposed to be the ones. Hold the politicians and the state's feet to the fire to make sure that they are following the Constitution. We do not need to rewrite the Constitution. We need to live by the one we've got. The Constitution has been violated, ignored, ridiculed by liberal do-gooders and fools on both sides of the aisle who have spent us into bankruptcy, creating a welfare state, and they want every one of us totally dependent on the government to live. Progressive income tax that you hear them talking about, that's a Robin Hood tax. What it means is they take from the rich and give to the poor. You have a right to keep what you earn. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the government the right to confiscate from workers to give to shirkers. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the government is responsible for educating everybody or for paying off student loans. And nothing in the Constitution that says the government is responsible for taking from workers and giving to illegal foreigners who are crossing an open border. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the government's job is to make all Americans equal. That's what they claim. Nobody has a right to have billions of dollars when you don't have enough to live on. Well, they probably earned their right. The Constitution is not outdated. But the politicians who are subverting, bypassing, and ignoring the Constitution, they are outdated. We don't need to destroy the Constitution. We need to get rid of the politicians who are trying to destroy it. And Christians claim to be Christians don't even go to the polls to vote. Can I have security stand over here so I can get out the door when I leave? Our nation's survival is at stake, church. Not sometime in the future, but right now. As a watchman, I'm sounding the alarm. Politicians and the media seem to be a little bit confused about why people are so angry with government. Why people distrust the government. A poll says that 40% of Americans fear the government. Well, I'm telling you what, the other 60% better fear the government. The IRS has the power to take everything you've got. According to the poll, 52% does not trust the government. I don't know how 48% can say they trust the government. I mean, you got to have at least two brain cells bumping together once in a while. What's happened in this country? You know, we used to teach our kids, if you're in trouble, find a policeman. They're your friend. They will help you. You can trust them. Now then, they want to defund the police. What kind of stupid is that? They want to replace police with social workers. Ladies, let me ask you a question. Now I know, listen, I've been pretty rough today. I promise probably be worse next week. If a gang breaks in your house, they're stealing all your valuables before they leave. Do you want some social worker walking in with a briefcase? Or do you want some policeman coming in with guns blazing? Now, you're encouraging me, so don't blame me for getting... Daniel Webster, I read this quote. I love it. He said, if we abide by the principles taught in the Bible, our country will go on and prosper. But if we and our posterity neglect its instruction and authority, no man can tell how sudden a catastrophe may overwhelm us and bury all our glory in profound obscurity. That's powerful. But I fear we are very close to being there now. But in spite of all of the gloom and doom, I believe God's people can still survive and prosper if they are willing to believe and trust this book, get back to God, back to the Bible, get back in church, and be true followers of Jesus Christ. Amen. I want you to be saved. I want you trusting God. God is still on the throne. He is still in control. He's Almighty God. He is everlasting Father, the Ancient of Days, rising with healing on his wings. He is the Prince of Peace, the Rose of Sharon, the honey in the rock. He is the staff of life, the bread of life, the water of life. And he's coming back in great power, and written on his thigh is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. God's still the boss. He's still on the throne. He's still in control. And I believe God is trying to warn us today. Don't build your house on the sand. I promise you this. God's not up walking the floor at night drinking Maalox. He's not worried. He's not upset. He's not afraid. He knows what's going on. And he does not want you worried, upset, and afraid. He did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. It's not my purpose to scare you or make you afraid. My purpose is solely to warn you of what I see coming. God wants you saved and trusting him.